how in the world do we get parity back in college football? Because parity is paramount. Bud Elliott, who works for us here at 24/7 Sports, he does a feature called the Sunshine State Scorecard. And the concept of this is very basic. It's just how much blue chip talent that comes out of the state of Florida from the high school level is staying in Florida. Now, for the purposes of this exercise, we're going to exclude IMG Academy in Bradenton because that's where a lot of kids from all over the country come to finish up their high school career, and it's kind of like a football prep academy. And so we exclude IMG, but the kids from Tallahassee and the kids from Miami and the kids from Tampa, Orlando, how many of those kids are staying in state? The ones who are rated 4 and 5 stars, so the true blue chip kids, how many of them are staying in state? And I firmly believe that not only is this exercise fascinating, but it extends well beyond just being a nice little checkup of how good Florida and Miami and Florida State are doing. I believe this is the key to really unlocking that elusive parity that a lot of us are looking for in college football. This is the key to it. First things first here. So the trends aren't good. They're not good for Florida or Florida State or Miami. I don't think this is a surprise, even if you're just a casual follower of recruiting. So Jesse's got a couple of graphics here. The first one we're going to throw up is just kind of showing you a 4-year trend of what's been happening with the 4 and 5 star talent in the state of Florida. So this last recruiting cycle, the 2021 recruiting cycle, only 37% of the 4 and 5 star rated players in Florida stayed in state. That's the second lowest mark ever. I think 2005 was the only year since we've been keeping up with this stuff that it was lower. But you can also see, like if you're listening to the podcast, we're looking at a graphic right now, and it's several year over year. It's a long time. It's not just kind of conveniently cherry picking for the sake of cherry picking. We're going back quite a ways here. And you can see the precipitous decline. Over the last 4 cycles, 42% of the 4 and 5 star talent has stayed in state. And based on any one rolling 4-year average, that's the lowest average that we've ever had of any 4-year average. So a lot of kids are leaving the state. A lot of really highly ranked kids are leaving the state, more than are staying home. Now, there are a lot of anecdotal reasons that this could be. A lot of elite kids are leaving the state of Florida. There are many anecdotal reasons you could give me. You could say, for example, and you'd be right, well, on average, more kids leave any state than they ever have before. State boundaries just seem to matter less and less. It's what the proliferation of technology has done to younger generations. Yeah, that's all true. But that is anecdotal, and it's excuse making, because you and I both know pretty much the same thing. No one is growing up in Plant City, Florida, with the natural inclination in their mind that, you know what, I need to get to Clemson, South Carolina. You know what, in order for me to fulfill my destiny, I'm an 8-year-old kid living in Sarasota. I really probably belong in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. No one comes from Fort Lauderdale and says, what is that? I just feel Columbus, Ohio calling my name. They're going there because that's where they think they have to go in order to be developed at the highest level possible and in order to compete for national championships and maximize their value for this level and the next level beyond. And that's a reality, because the part B of this is the state of Florida hadn't been getting the job done, and to put a finer point on it, the coaching staffs in the state of Florida at the big 3, FSU, Miami, and Florida, they haven't gotten the job done. And it's not been a 1 or 2 year thing. It's been an extended period of time thing now. Florida's got to get their state in order, because I'm going to tell you what that would do. Yeah, it'd be great for the Gators. It'd be great for the Canes. It'd be great for the Noles. It'd be great for you all who want parity so badly in college football. Ask yourself, if Florida and Miami and Florida State were keeping, instead of 37 or 38%, what if they were keeping 60, 65% of that talent home? Number one, their rosters would be much improved. But number two, when you watch Alabama play, you watch Clemson, you watch Ohio State play, and they have these game breakers. Like, it's not collective units, it's superstar players that can take over games. If you take 1 or 2 of those off each roster and you drop them in the state of Florida, not only do you maybe change the outcomes of games, not only do you maybe add a win or 2 onto the win-loss columns of the respective teams in Florida, maybe you change the national landscape while you're at it. Like, maybe all of a sudden, if North Carolina's playing Clemson one random Saturday and they're down inside the 10-yard line and it's 1st and goal and they're going for the win and one less elite edge rusher exists for Clemson, maybe that's the difference in a win or loss. There was no Florida team even playing in that game. But yet Miami or Florida State may have impacted the outcome of that game. Ditto for Alabama, ditto for Ohio State. There's no reason for this. I want to actually, Jesse, you got another graphic, don't you? So it gets even more pronounced the finer the microscope you put on it. When you're talking about top 100 kids, not just 4 and 5 star, but elite 4 and then five-star kids out of the state of Florida. What's the number? The numbers, they had like 4 of 13 stay in the state this past year. So the state of Florida had 13 kids ranked inside the top 100 of the 24/7 Sports player rankings. Only 4 of those 13 stayed in state. Over the past 4 years, the top 100 players from Florida, 50% or more have left the state every single one of those last 4 years. That's not good. It's also borderline unprecedented or outright unprecedented. It hasn't happened. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking about all the formulas that people lay out there for how we get college football parity, and do we need to expand the playoff, and do we need to change this and change that? Do scheduling dynamics need to change? How about just having Florida get their house in order? And by Florida, I mean everybody down there. If Gus Malzahn wants to come in and be a factor here, then have Central Florida be a factor here. I don't care who gets it done. I'm just saying this would send such a bigger ripple effect through the sport of college football. And think about this. So we're not really talking about the Golden State scorecard in this particular show, but we do that as well. When the Golden State scorecard comes out and you look at the mass talent exodus that's been leaving the state of California, what if both of those things happen? Like, what if USC and Cal, or just the West Coast? What if the West Coast kept a majority of the California talent at home and the state of Florida kept its Florida talent at home? How different would the sport be? I didn't change anything about the postseason. I didn't change anything about scheduling. All I did was I upped the recruiting efforts, hypothetically, of course, from the programs that are in the backyards of the hottest geographic recruiting bases in America. That is what has allowed one of the things that has allowed Alabama to soar. They go into Florida and Texas and California, for that matter, and they routinely just pluck whoever they want to, seemingly. Ohio State's done the same thing. Clemson, especially in Florida, has tended to do the same thing. And it's another example. I go back to this analogy constantly. It's another example of people thinking the problem is in the window. So it's out there. It's something about the sport. In reality, it's in the mirror. Dan Mullen and his staff, they got to do better. That starts in the mirror. Like Mike Norvell's brand new on the scene. Manny Diaz still kind of new on the scene. And the recruiting efforts have gotten better at Miami. There is not a top 10 ranked team in the state of Florida this recruiting cycle. For this past recruiting cycle, the 2021 cycle, none of those teams finished in the top 10. Do you know how insane that is? You've got to be giving kids reasons to leave the state. Their default setting is they want to stay home. Like Florida kids aren't dying to go play in Ohio. They're not dying to go play in South Carolina. They're going there because you're not giving them a better option. You give them a better option, they stay home. They stay home, you win more. You win more possibly at the expense of Bama, Clemson, and Ohio State winning more. And then all of a sudden you got your parity in college football, or at least a little bit more, and you have a few more seats at that Tier 2 table. And those programs may be knocking on the door of Tier 1 status. That's how you start to fix your parity problem. Every time someone's screwing up things in their own backyard, the answer is not, well, let's just overhaul the sport. Overhaul your process. Fix your own self before you start looking out the window and saying, college football holding us back. Like imagine, I'm not saying I'm hearing this excuse, but the 50K foot excuse for the lack of parity is just thought to be the playoff, is just allowing the few to thrive at the expense of the many. No, it's not. No, the ineptitude in the recruiting departments for a long time now in places like Tallahassee and Gainesville and Miami, that has allowed Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson to flourish. It has nothing to do with how many teams you got in the playoff.